Qué rico. ¿Quieres un cafecito? ¿Quieres un latte? Quizás un Yapp-a-lotte. Hay que yapear together. Enjoy, amigo. It's welcome to Yapp-a-lotte. Qué rico. Qué rico. Qué rico. Qué rico. Qué rico. Qué rico. Qué rico.
Welcome to the show, everybody. It is March 22nd, 2026. I am your host. That's all you need to know.
And I am my other host,
And
which
we have
is
another host.
mysterious.
We should probably eventually attach names to these, but that's fine. What's new on your end?
Sure. So I think I said this off mic. I think this is going to be a yappier episode. Well, we do some yappy episodes. I dated the one boy twice. I have a date with the new boy.
Bruh.
These two talk about who knows what, but they live in Japan, so it's likely a must.
So you're on them streets. I mean, we being not normal, probably have our own weird schedules, so that doesn't really count. But as far as you being able to meet up with all these suitors here, is it like are they meeting you up like once a week on average, or twice a week even?
It's once a week.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think there's like the weird thing about Japan is scheduling.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you said, once a week, or they're always busy working. So you gotta like in advance be like a week in advance, be like, okay, we should meet this day. What time do you want to meet? And this particular set of guys has been very serious about like making reservations.
I find that to be cringe. Like if I were a Latina instead of a Latino, I'd be like, you gotta make reservations? Who do you think you are? I would rather have someone like me, unsurprisingly, who says, we are currently located on this random map. I will sniff out for food using my honed my honed instincts, and I will lead us to food, baby. That's how I would go. But yeah, how do you feel about that?
I mean, I don't necessarily mind either way, but I do feel kind of weird about making reservations for lunch. I feel like the restaurant is not going to be like that crowded.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think I would just use reservations as a strat so that one of us doesn't give up. Obviously, hopefully you, like, doesn't, like leave the date or whatever. But also, you know why I wouldn't, if I were a woman? I think about this a lot, and I'm joking. But if I were a woman and someone were making reservations, especially out here in these Japanese streets, I'd be like, whatever reservation they're making on their end, I'm gonna be like the 50th woman they've taken to this place. Like they know it like the back of their hand. They know the menu, and I would find that to be cringe. Meanwhile, if I had a Latino such as myself, I'm telling you, just be like, where are you? Where are we starting? Let's meet up. All right, I'll adapt. I'll find the food. It'll be nearby. It's gonna be comfortable. But yeah, I know I know I'm in the minority of Latina women, especially because I'm not one. But what have the lunches been?
No, they've been pretty normal. Like we went to sukiyaki once.
Uh-huh.
And then kind of I don't know, the big thing has been like Italian food, which is pretty funny to me.
Is it like real Italian food? Not that I know what that is, or is it like Italian food with like corn in it?
Oh no, real Italian food, thankfully.
Okay. Is maybe let me
I don't do those corn things.
Yeah, for real. Let me take a guess. Is it Italian food? Is it food with wine? Got some wine flowing?
Yeah, there's usually a little bit of alcohol.
Yeah, but to be fair, they got alcohol like everywhere. So that's not too surprising, but
No, we talked about no me communication and the need to drink when you're Japanese to
yeah.
relax and actually talk.
Yeah, these dudes, they're all I mean, the last one was Japanese. How about this one?
Yeah, this one is Japanese too.
Okay.
So the recent guys have been Japanese, but I date the rainbow.
Nice. You're that's good. That's good. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. I'm just thinking, I don't know what would work. I guess I'm kind of like negatively coded. Like I would look out for negatives before I would settle on oh, this is totally positive. So I think I'd just be super paranoid when I'd be dating out here.
I mean, it's easy to be negative when you're dating because there's lots of takeaways, to put it nicely.
What do you mean takeaways?
Reasons to not want to continue a date or reasons to not want to go outside, to be honest.
All right, just like not even. I shouldn't even be laughing because yeah, today was my day off and I just wasn't inside all day. So yeah, I probably feel that.
Because I'll be fair, in a lot of ways, it's not the dude. It's just like me remembering I have to go out and I'm not getting paid to go out. I'm going out to be with people. And like the dude is not the people I'm talking about. I'm talking about Tokyo.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I mean, I was thinking. Yeah, I think that's precisely why even the locals will. What's that word? They will not be eager to get out there, to get out in them streets. Like it's a royal pain in the ass for everybody. I'm actually surprised they go out as much as they do. They will force themselves to go out.
I think so.
Yeah, I mean it depends on the job. Like it might be even though as much as if we ever I don't know if I've ever complained about it, but if we ever do complain about our jobs, like usually most of the jobs that I can imagine us doing, the level of pain in the ass is controlled, and I think for a lot of people out here, the level of pain in the ass fluctuates. So there are definitely like some seasons that are just like extra pains in the ass, and there are, but I don't even mean like seasons. I guess I like literally just weeks. Like it'd be like one day or like 1 week where you just had to work overtime every single week. Whereas I think most foreigners that are out here, they'll try to get jobs where they can leave on time at least. So like just having that bit of control is over time aggregates into like a totally different mindset. Because if you could have a random week of yours just kind of be shot and just kind of be totally dedicated to your company, then you might want to go wild that weekend or the week after. I don't know.
No, fair enough.
Yeah. So what I mean is, there's a lot of it's. I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't know how to. I don't know what to call it. I'm not sure if it would be acting out or something. But yeah, the end result is, and then you have. What if you have a family as well? Like, even though that's becoming more and more rare out here, you have a family, or you got a dating. I don't know. Obviously, some people date for sport, so that's kind of their hobby. So I'm sure they're optimized for that. But
Oh, you reminded me of something that I admire but could never do. A lady went on dates every night just to always have free dinner.
yeah, that is definitely an
I
option.
don't I admire it because I admire the game. Let me just put it that way. But I don't know if I could people enough to go out every night.
Ironically, I feel like I probably could, but I don't know. I don't know if I would want to. I'm trying to think. And wouldn't it depend on the food as well? Because wouldn't the guys always feel they have to lead, right? So like, what if the guy
Yeah.
just leads you to some crappy food? I don't know if I could risk that.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I probably would be a little bit nervous about like the lack of control over where I get my dinner.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't know. Date. I'm not sure, man. There's again, this has become a dating episode. I'm definitely not an expert, but I do be yapping to a lot of people who will yap to me as well. But I don't know. In Japan, I've said this before, but it's like quite segmented based on their age bracket. So it's almost like I would in this particular topic we're talking about, I would say like early 20s, like still in university, it's like super casual what you do as far as dating and all that. But probably as soon as you graduate, this is if you're a woman, like in the back of your mind, you're immediately like, well, it would be nice if I could find a kind of forever partner like ASAP since I'm young and want kids. And then the ones that don't want kids, that are more career focused, they'll be the same as the Westerners. They'll set it till later. But in the US, they'll usually set it to like 30 or something. Like, I'll get married at 30. But out here, like, they'll be like, I got to get married by 27 or I'm cooked. Like 27, and that's a huge evolution because it used to be like 25, right? So
Yeah,
27.
there used to be the
Uh-huh.
Christmas cake analogy.
Explain that analogy to our one listener that doesn't know it.
Sure. So the Christmas cake analogy is that in Japan for Christmas you get a cake and the cake is good on the 24th and the 25th, but after that, nah, cake's not good anymore.
Yes.
Now compare that to women.
Yes, very offensive, very offensive. I guess now what is it, like Leonardo da Vinci, Leonardo DiCaprio, or whatever.
Leonardo DiCaprio and his age limits.
Yeah, it's about the same. This is not a
Yeah, you're
Japan
right.
only rule. But to be fair, I would say someone like Leonardo is just he's just dating. He's not trying to marry these people. The ones out here, it's specifically for marriage, I would say. And then yeah, there's people past 30. And then when I had the dating apps installed, you could just kind of tell the vibes of who had given up. You know, like who was. I would say the average of giving up is around definitely after 35, maybe like yeah, I would say like definitely by 37. The 37-year-old profiles and above, they were just like, man, whatever, man. Like they were just trying to like have someone to hang out with on weekends to go to museums and stuff. That was my impression. And yeah, so in other words, I would say that between 25 and the aforementioned 35, 37, like between there, um, it's a weird limbo zone, right? Where it'd be like, it's nice if we could get married. I'm still relatively young. I've obviously chosen to prioritize my career to some extent. But I'm not married, but I probably should be. People are getting married around me, and that fucking sucks. But I can't get married. I can't pretend either to be like a certain type of person. Because when you're young, again, I think it's because I might have more female friends out here that are interested in marriage compared to guys. I feel like the guys are just kind of suddenly it'll be like, or because maybe because the guys don't talk about it. it'll be
I
like,
feel like guys do not talk about marriage. I feel like they just show up and they're like, bro, I'm getting married. You're like,
yeah,
what
this
the?
has happened to me. Will you be my best man? Yeah, bro. What's going on? What best man for what? What happened? Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so at your day, and the last guy you said was younger than you. You young manned him essentially, which is crazy. How about this dude? This last
This
one.
guy's a little bit older this time.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to put myself there. I realize my way of thinking is like this is gonna be cringe, but I'm usually during most of my formative years, I was dating somebody. So even when I'm not dating anybody, I still kind of behave as if I am already dating somebody, and then someone just kind of fills that slot, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, okay, I have an actual person there, but my behavior is like still like I don't need to be on them streets basically, even though I probably because of the aforementioned limbo zone where it kind of everyone feels that pressure. I probably should have been more out on those streets, but
I mean,
mhm,
I should have been out on those streets.
mhm,
I was not.
yeah. So then if I'm trying to imagine if it's like a late 30s guy, I think if it's a late 30s guy, I feel like they still got a little, it'd be nice to settle down. I happen to believe that men are actually the romantic ones and are the ones that would love to be in some kind of committed this or that. Of course, they would also love to have a harem of women because we're just stereotyping at this point. But I think guys do, they want, I think guys would like to have someone they could just like kind of lavish. What is the word? They could throw affection on, be affectionate with.
I
But
mean, that's quite possible, but I will throw this cynical thing out there.
yes,
They did
please.
talk about men of a certain age, probably 40s, 50s,
Uh-huh.
looking for significant others to take care of them when they're old.
I didn't even think about that. I don't know, but like guys don't even take care of themselves. Most guys. Like I know it's funny
That's
because
true.
I think like women, when a guy does take care of himself, that's like might be a green flag. Like his skin, he's grooming himself. His room is clean. I know these are like basics. He changes his sheets or whatever. Changes out his sheets. Like I know these are like super just adult basics to people, but yeah, for a guy, it depends on the guy. But this maybe goes for all people, not just for guys. But if you're kind of treated like an animal, and I guess the reason that guys came to mind first is because a lot of guys at work are kind of just treated like energy units or something, like expendable energy units. Maybe that's why HR was invented. But so yeah, if you're a guy and you're just kind of treated like an animal, and you are eventually, I think you'll realize like, damn, this how I be living, and you start thinking like, well, if I had someone at home to also treat me like an animal, then at least it would be cleaner or something. But so what? This guy was implying like he wants someone to wipe his ass or something.
I guess it's about a fear that people have about like being lonely as they grow older.
Yeah, I think that's pretty real.
But it was talking about how like older women particularly are like, I'm fine just dating. We don't have to like get married, and older men wanting to be married.
I think it's because the older women, because guys like we're like slower on the developmental process, on the maturing process, right? So I mean, I saw this myself as a kind of sex difference even when I was like teaching kids. You could just tell the like there it'd be like the women, the girls, the little girls in the class would be like super still, and the dudes would just be jumping around basically. Like you just see it. I saw it happen in real time when I used to teach kids. I think that keeps going. Like I think for the women that are single in their late 30s or 40s, at least out here, like they've kind of resigned themselves to just being like taking like financially they've planned ahead, career-wise they've planned ahead, vacations they've planned ahead. But overall they're just kind of like, let me have an enjoyable month, let me have an enjoyable like season, and if I'm with somebody that's gonna make it enjoyable, then that sounds good. For a guy, they're just like, yeah, I'll get married eventually. Sure, I'll have kids, I'll have this, I'll have that, I'll be based, I'll have a six-pack. Sooner or later I'll have a six-pack. My hair will magically grow back. I'm not gonna get any more wrinkles or anything. It'll be fine. And guys keep up that belief. But yeah, I could imagine being like mid 40s and then like it hitting you in the face. Like, damn, wait a minute, hold up, hold up, hold up. Maybe I need to prioritize something. So in other words, I think in this case, there's like probably like a 15-year gap where like women of that type have already decided like, okay, well this sucks, but I'm gonna just be chill about it, see where this takes me. And guys are still in denial. I bet that's what's happening.
No, you could be right.
Yeah. Well, I have some tech news for you.
Oh, we're gonna switch gears.
Can we get some privacy with your panopticon-ass IT industry? On these, you're being creepy, IT.
I want to ask your opinion because someone like me, in fact, this is related to the whole reason why I even started getting into Linux in the first place. But for a normal person, this has never been on their radar. So there's actually like two things going on, but there's one that's really easy to understand, and that is that let me be Alex Jones for a moment, who's a conspiracy theorist guy. There's a lot of laws around the world that are syncing up suddenly, seemingly out of nowhere. It has now been discovered that it's somehow it's Meta that's been lobbying different governments around the world. When it comes to the states, they're not lobbying the federal government, they're lobbying the states, but they're choosing their states very carefully. And this law seems quite innocuous, and of course it always has it. Of course it has the think of the children as a justification for it. But essentially, it is as simple as when you set up a new operating system. So for a normal person, it would be like their phone or yeah, your new Mac, iMac or whatever. It asks for your age, and after you, so this is by law, it has to know the age of the user. And in addition, the age has to be somehow available for any application on your device to read so that the application can see what the age is. As a Linux person, open source, freedom, blah, blah, blah person, I see a million things wrong with this already. But from your normal perspective, what do you see, if anything?
There are a million things wrong with this because I want to say this is probably KOSA, so the Kids
KOSA?
Online Safety Act.
Oh, okay.
In the U.S. They tried to pass it in Congress, or they did pass it, and it's one of those kind of bills to. Oh wait, no, it failed. To do this, particularly for censorship and things like that. Basically, both sides kind of hated it, but it was basically talking about this kind of issue of freedom and particularly data collection practices, because it's one of those things where, like, if you're a normie, the idea doesn't seem so bad at first, where it's like, oh, you should verify that you're like the right age to be in this place. But then you dig deeper and then you realize that like some agency, or particularly in the case of this, honestly, some private company is going to have your data.
Yes.
And so like this was a big thing because I don't know if you caught it, but Discord was pulled into it. They were going to do age verification, and then everyone found out it was tied to a different company. I forget what company it was tied to.
Persona?
I want to say
Persona, something like that.
Persona, something like that.
Yeah.
But everyone's like, no, I'm not giving Discord, which is famous for being full of scammers and leaks and things, my ID to prove that I'm whatever age.
Yes. Yeah, that was one of the initial rumblings of this. And the reason I said conspiracy theories is because it's one thing where someone somewhere, some country, some corner of the world decides to do something, but when you just have everybody, I believe the term he used was in lockstep. When you have like a various countries and various organizations all suddenly magically agreeing on the same things, or at least moving towards the same direction. Like I knew it was very suspicious when it was when Brazil. It's already this law has already made essentially a lot of Linux distributions illegal in Brazil. It already passed. The California one is gonna be set into motion at the beginning of next year, 2027. And there's a Colorado one, but they keep cropping up. So it's like Brazil and the U.S. are not friendly with each other. I don't know if Americans know or care. They probably neither. But Brazil and the U.S. They kind of got beef on the regular. Brazil being part of BRICS. The politicians over there either blaming the U.S. for a lot of their problems, or just being like really besties with President Trump in particular, which also kind of irks the Brazilian people, who tend to be very left-leaning overall. If you don't believe me, racism is literally illegal over there. Like if you literally, like in the U.S. we got that freedom of speech. Over there it's like, you said what? And then like you could actually do like jail time for that. So why is the U.S. and Brazil, who we don't really see eye to eye in a lot of aspects, we got the same law, and in fact it's even more, it got implemented faster over there. So clearly, like, there was a hidden hand. No one knew what it was. But yeah, I want to say a few days ago even, yeah, it was revealed that it was actually Meta, the Facebook company Meta, going around and lobbying like everywhere it could. But it was strategic, so it wasn't like a blanket thing. It wasn't like open. It was like, I would say like, what is it, under the table type lobbying to get these bills to magically pass. And you're totally right about the Discord thing, because that's where I think normies first were kind of sensing that this wave of laws was coming in. And
I'm gonna
Mhm.
jump in here real quick with something a little bit weird.
Yeah.
I think this is something that you'll find that, like, not, well, normies might be coming more into it, but particularly fandom spaces
Oh.
get you real touchy when you start to do this kind of censorship.
Mm-hmm.
So way back in the annals of history is a website called LiveJournal.
Mm-hmm.
And this used to be like the fandom hub. And then it got attacked by basically this kind of censorship kind of rule. And now this one wasn't data collection like it is now, but basically its huge thing was to target like sexual abuse or illegal activities.
Like the
And
genres.
then they basically and they basically just started deleting like LGBTQ help forums,
Mm-hmm.
or purging accounts for people mentioning that, oh, hey, I might be gay. Like, it was a huge deal back then to be like, hey, you're erasing like aspects of community that you don't like.
Yeah.
Not these kind of illegal things that you claim to be trying to deal with. And that's and I bring that up because, well, that was purely focused on kind of mostly, and I know I'm telling the history very like light. Well, that was kind of focused purely on like this kind of purging.
Mm-hmm.
What was behind it was the company Six Apart was wanting to court more advertising.
Yeah. This
And
happened.
so
This happened on
advertisers,
4chan too. Even though
yeah,
4chan
advertisers
is
do not like anything basically that's like
yes.
freedom.
Yeah, that exact same thing happened on 4chan. Everyone knows 4chan is a kind of a cesspool of hate, and maybe the inverse of a warm, welcoming space. That sounds like LiveJournal acted as, but they had the exact same issue. And at the time, Hiro Moot, which is the nickname for a Japanese entrepreneur, I don't know what he is, Hiroyuki something or other, the guy who owns 4chan right now, he split the domain into two. This was his move, because 4chan people think outside the box, even though he was a ni-channel person, a 2chan person. But he split the domains. He did a 4chan.org, and then he made another one called 4channel.org. .org, like spelt out. And then all the people complain because every community complains about every little change. And they were like, what's going on? It's over. It's game over. We're screwed. And then they just interviewed him. He just did like a little interview on one of the boards, and they were like, is this about advertising? And he was like, yes. And that was it. And then everybody immediately understood, like, oh, like in order for this place to stay profitable, like or to be profitable or to stay afloat or whatever, like the advertisers are actually they're actually the enemies here. And
Well, yeah, because
mhm.
it goes back not just to advertisers, but it goes back to I was about to say Microsoft. That's not right. MasterCard, Visa, these companies that we use for our payment systems are quite conservative. And
Yeah.
so you see this with new things that pop up. So, for example, Patreon, I think even OnlyFans went through this for a little bit, but I think OnlyFans just let it go, where like sexual content kind of builds up the user base and creates money. And then, of course, these big companies are like, well, we're not going to deal with your sexual content anymore, or you're this, that, or the other. And then they start to try to like get rid of these people. And it's generally just, and it starts with like, in a lot of cases, the sex work, but then it travels out to other issues.
Yeah, well, they'll always open up with think of the kids, which they're obviously doing with this age one. Just to wrap up the Discord thread, because I think the thread we're going on now goes even beyond. It goes into the long term. But the Discord thread, what happened was, at least the European section of Discord was using I think maybe I'm wrong about that, but they were using an application. Okay, first off, they said that they were gonna ask certain users to like based off of like heuristics, like if where they might sense that they were young, they were gonna have them verify. So at first they opened up with, well, not everybody's gonna verify. It's only if you sound young, which implies they're reading everything. Like people should know that they're reading everything, but they inherently don't, because there's Discord groups and there's little nooks and there's little channels, and they got like there's live channels where you just like are talking and you just assume no one's listening. You just assume you have your own little community in your own little corner in your own little dark themed Discord chat. You just assume everything's private, but it's like, bro, they just told you that they're checking to see if you've said skibbity toilet when it was popular. Like if you dropped words like skibbity toilet, based, cringe, and all whatever words used to be popular. I'm assuming there's new words now. Yeah, if you're speaking like a youngling, then they'll might ask you for stuff. And by the way, that implies they know how you're speaking. They're reading your shit. Number one, and then somehow no one really complained about that enough, in my opinion. That should have already been enough to get out of there. And then I'll give like the counter to all this after, because there's obviously two sides to it. But so then they hired a third party independent from Discord company to do the verification, and they said they keep nothing. You know, we don't store the images, because a lot of it was like what is it? A lot of it was taking pictures, so like face scans and seeing if you're an adult. So not, and like, yeah. And it's like, well, we don't keep any of it. We're just holding it for a little bit, and then it gets deleted instantly in many cases. So then that website, the service, I'm pretty sure it was Persona something, they get hacked, and it turns out they just keep everything. And by the way, by hacked, they didn't get actually hacked. Someone just literally kept following they kind of just traced where all the information was going, and then they saw that it led to a server, which there's a special name for it, but it's a government, a US government based server. It's like authorized. It's like an authorized US government based server, and just everything was there. Like they were just keeping all the information there. They weren't deleting shit. So, okay. So this is just some kind of government operation. In my conspiratorial ass, I always thought Discord was a government operation because it came out of nowhere. Like it didn't even make any sense. And also the language they used was the language of my people. Like for example, it was like, start a new server. I was like, I would love to start a new server. What ports do I need to open? And then it turns out a new server just meant like a new community. I was like, what? So they were clearly like trying to target a certain type of person, like a certain type of person who believes they are tech savvy or something. So that's already enough reason to to if possible, try to find a Discord alternative. But now they're way too integrated into so many communities that it's going to be a long haul to do anything about that. But going back to your thread where you're touching upon now with advertisers and MasterCard and everything, the link is definitely that they're talking about like think of the children. Like think of the children is like is where they start. And
Yeah,
mhm.
because there's a thing about kind of child-proofing the internet. And I think it's because they're trying there's two courses to go about this. One is to make the entire internet child friendly,
Mhm.
in which I think that ship has honestly sailed.
It's not. I don't like. This is that whole thing of I don't know. This is that whole thing of like you know you still have to parent. Children should be parented. You know that's the
And on
thing.
the other hand, no,
Mhm.
that's true. And on the other hand, right, like I said, making the internet childproof or trying to limit how people use the internet based on children. Because the internet has changed in a lot of ways. And right now, most people do spend their time on the various social media apps and websites. And these websites don't, how do I put it? They're worse than they were when I was a kid, but they're also better than they were when I was a kid. The internet used to be much wilder, and you used to just see stuff that you probably shouldn't have seen.
Yeah.
And like,
Well. Mhm.
as a kid, you either like hid it from your parents that you saw something you weren't supposed to see, or you like cried to your parents that you saw something you weren't supposed to see. But like now there's like the government stepping in to say that it's duty that kids shouldn't see these things. And once again, like you said, we're kind of sidestepping parents.
Yeah. Like that we. It's weird. This also, in my opinion, gets into the whole concept of like safe spaces and you know it. It
Well,
just
there are
it.
no safe spaces for kids anymore, which I think is a big problem.
I just think it's not on the internet. Like it might be like in a particular. It's not even in anything where even if it's curated, we're now talking about like so much stuff that it's not going to be curated perfectly. I think the reason you were saying that it feels a little safer now is because most people, not just kids, they spend most of their time on a particular set of apps. When we were younger, you could just like you would just go into the search bar and type in like www.catsarecool.com. I don't know if that's a real website or not. And then if it didn't go anywhere, then you just try the next one. Catsarecute.com. And then you just keep going, like catsarefluffy.com. Like we were, at least for me, I was like brute forcing like concepts. Like cuteanimegirls.com. I don't know if any of these places are real, so if they do lead somewhere, then probably don't go there, because if it's a place I would go to as a child, it's probably full of viruses right now. But
Well, I say that to when I say it's safer, or I mean like it feels safer. I don't think it's necessarily safer.
yeah, but I think that's why it feels
Or
safer, because people just go to these like very centralized repos of content, like TikTok or Instagram, even though they'll be showing gore there all the time. But when we were younger, we would just kind of, it's like the whole internet was open for us. We just go everywhere. We I guess, and then if you'd find a community, like the communities back then were, I think were a lot, I guess, like they are now, but they were often they had to be the communities back then, like what brought them together was usually something quite niche, like something like LiveJournal, like what you had mentioned, or a 4chan, I guess, in my case. Yeah, I heard that the Mastercard thing, I don't really get what's going on. Here's the thing, if I actually believed that they were like really hell bent on protecting children, then I'd be like, all right, I mean if that's your mission, but it just doesn't seem to be the case. It seems more like they just want to monitor children at best, and at worst they want to kind of like groom them. Like that's the word. Like they're gonna like because people don't really value children enough. Like they are the next humans, you know. Like they're the next people with power as we get older and older and out of power.
well, I'm gonna go in my weird like I'm frankly like kind of strange. It's weird that we pass these laws or attempt to pass these laws that supposedly protect children, but we won't pass the Children's Bill of Rights, which would actually protect children.
Tell me about the
Like,
Children's Bill of Rights. Bill of Rights.
so this is basically like kind of a thing that UNICEF does, where it's like the right to clean water or healthy food,
Mhm.
um,
I see. It's like
things that like actually help a child develop.
right, right. That's true. Yeah. Yeah, I think it should be suspicious that they have such a focus on technology. Because the thing about technology is like technology is bringing down full-grown adults to their knees. Like there's like boomers that are just watching endless like AI-generated reels right now, and they know it's AI-generated, but they don't care because guess what? It has higher production value in their boomer blurry vision than like the I don't know old shows on the Discovery Channel in the early noughts in the early 2000s. So they're just like okay, and like the announcer guy voice from that era is now text to speech AI, and they're all in. So now that's a boomer. That's a man or a woman who's lived like 50 to 60 years. And then meanwhile, let's give that same thing to someone who's like 8 years on this planet, 10 years on this planet, like less time than we've been in Japan on this planet. Like they're not gonna stand a chance. So I don't. As far as like okay, well, how do we protect them kids? Well, you gotta be parents first off. We can't keep relying on the government. Like the government should be there for like exactly what you just mentioned. Clean water, like maybe no pollution would be nice. Safety protection from like crime, as far as like crime you're gonna encounter on them streets. Access to information, I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, like I just had like a bunch of encyclopedia discs because there was like no internet, but somehow there was a computer. And I would just spend like hours going through the encyclopedia trying to catch up on what happened before I was born. And now there's Wikipedia for that. That's a pretty good resource, I would say, even though people always talk shit about it, as they should, especially with certain when you read biographies on people. But access to information is pivotal, and this is kind of the opposite of all that. This is like you're gonna hop on, we're gonna know you're a kid, we're gonna monitor you, we're gonna kind of decide what you can do and can't do. Because once this is the Linux side of it, by the way, which is if you're able to query any kind of database on my system that is first off it's something that's in my system by law is already way outside the Linux philosophy here. The Unix philosophy, I should say. But okay, so you've mandated that my system have something that you need to interface with. Okay, it wasn't good enough that you've backdoored all the CPUs. That's fine. So now at the software level, I got this thing there, and now whatever I install, eventually it's a slippery slope thing where they're just gonna get like, okay, well, you need to be able to query it at any time, and you already know like if a hacker knows that this is a module that exists in every operating system, that if I do a certain kind of query, I'm going to get a certain kind of response. Guess what I'm going to target? Are you kidding? A universal function in every operating system that's pointing towards data that needs to be formatted in a particular way. Yeah, that's going to be the new door right there. That's the Unix perspective, I would say. This is like a security risk, or is soon to be a security risk.
Well,
Yeah.
you're right. It's definitely a security risk. But I also think, and this is a little bit, no, I think this is a little bit conspiracy. I think it's getting to the point where, like, they're trying to get children used to being surveilled because older people instinctively, like, remember less watching. But
Wow.
if you grow up always being watched, like, everything's different. And also, like, it feels like we're trying to create a world where children can't make mistakes.
Crazy. That's an amazing point because yeah, like it makes me think about how London has all those cameras everywhere, the CCTV, the closed circuit television or whatever. I sincerely doubt that when they first started that all the cameras were like recording and creating like permanent records of the streets, or even if all the cameras were like high quality enough to capture the crime or whatever. But it was more about creating a society where you live in a panopticon, where you're not going, where you never feel like you're not being watched, and so there's automatic like a chilling effect both on your speech and your behavior, where it's like limited just psychologically because you always feel like a caged animal that's being watched by in their case they would call it a big brother. They even in order to indoctrinate the people, they even had a show Big Brother to get people used to the concept of it. And even for us in the Americas, the idea of an influencer or a streamer or any kind of celebrity having no privacy, That's also a thing. I know people who they've never streamed or shown their face anywhere outside their private profile, but their way of thinking is already like, what if I get canceled? What if I make someone mad on the internet? What if I get stalked? They're already thinking like the same as a public figure, despite, maybe they might have, a lot of people have fantasies of becoming a public figure because they associate that with money. But yeah, you're right. If you're a child, you're born into this world, and it's like, I'm gonna sign on to this device. The freest device we have possible also has this, by the way, and it's gonna know your exact age the entire time. Here's a clapback.
But,
Oh, go ahead.
but here's the thing: it's gonna know your age and it's gonna know what you do. Because the thing is, one of these things about the surveillance state that I think people don't get is like it changes the way we do things. So like if you were a kid in the 90s and you stole for the first time and you got caught, they'd probably be like, "You're an idiot. Take your dumb ass out of here. You're not allowed in the shop anymore," and it's finished.
Yeah.
Now you have a record of you stealing, possibly a criminal record now because they caught it on tape, so it's been charged.
Yeah.
And like the total lack of like solving things in your own way is also disappearing.
Yeah. Like, actually, that's a good point. Like, imagine this could have got a lot of people, like, when people started getting cameras on their phones, and like teenagers, like, I imagine like a lot of them probably were sending like lewd pictures to each other. Like,
That was a thing.
yeah, lewd pictures of a minor are like highly illegal, even if you're a minor.
I gotta jump in here because I know about this.
Uh-huh.
So it is a thing in the US where they are charging teenagers especially with having CSAM and being like, all right, you're going on the sex offender registry because you sent these pictures of yourself, or you received them, or you're a dumb kid and you spread the pictures that you got.
Yeah, and what if like there's a thing about kids being idiots, because that's part of the human development process, as we've talked about even with people in their 40s. But as far as like proper teenagers or even like preteens doing stupid stuff, some of them are being what's the word, groomed, or they're being influenced by older people who are just kind of either they could be scaring them, or they could be making them fall in love with them. And supposedly like these laws are supposed to help with that. That's the guise that they're being presented under. But it's like how, bro? How? Because at least on the Linux side, people are gonna lie about their age the same way everybody lied when they were younger, when they hit a site that said, "Are you 18 plus?" and they're like, "Yeah," and they just clicked "Yeah," and that was it. Like, the way the laws are set up right now, it's like you could probably just lie about your age, about your user age. But guess what? When they see that this doesn't help at all because people are just lying about it, then now the governments they've already set a precedent where they're like, "Oh well, we can't let people lie. Maybe we should just scan their eyes. Let's scan their retinas. Let's get their social security attached to this. Let's make sure that every time they sign on to their phone, it's actually them. We'll have a mandated fingerprint scanners." Obviously, again, this is like a slippery slope type stuff, but that is where it's going because that is their goal, right? If their goal is to eradicate these dangers against children, then that's a noble goal, but it's like the path to hell is paved with good intentions. So
Also, and this is a thing that comes back to like my thing about it, is making more and more databases that are probably not secure,
no,
full of private information, is just a hacker's playground.
yes.
Like,
And I would say that is it's been proven over and over and over again. It's been proven over and over and over again. Like, this is a real danger. Like, how many times has everybody gotten their social security number leaked in the last like 10 years in the US? Like, that's why the government, like, there's been so many like giant lawsuits where they get offered the free credit monitoring or something like that. It's like the same way that AI is like this machine that just requires information for data to be trained on. Like, when is a hacker ever going to be satisfied? Like, if you have these hacking agencies or intelligence agencies and they have everybody's location, okay? They have everybody's social security number, which is important in the States. They have everybody's this or that. And why would they stop there if they can just keep getting more? Eventually they're going to have everyone, they would like to have everyone's internet activity they would like to have a network. They already have this, but a network of who you know, who you speak with, a series of locations, and they could use that for various purposes. The first purpose
I
is
mean,
just to scare you into compliance, like to the way you were saying, like where people don't feel like they're not really free to do anything. But the other one is, hey, remember how the government could possibly have bad people in it? Remember that part? Like, what if like even when Edward Snowden left to Russia or whatever, one of the I don't know I'm not sure what you would call it, but one of the programs that was internal at the NSA was called Love Int, INT, and it was short for love interest, which is like the dudes that had access to everybody's information. They would just like regularly stalk their exes, or they would like regularly stalk like people they had crushes on, hence the love interest, and they had all that information there, and it happened so often that they had a code for it, love int. So imagine having that, but now we're talking about actual children. We know they're children. These are children. Like,
well,
if
we're also
anything,
talking about
yeah,
essentially not just that, we're talking about more data collection than that because they're trying to combine more of the information that wasn't combined before. And I can tie this into Japan because Japan is doing it too,
hmm,
where they'll have not just your personal ID and your credit information. Pretty soon they're going to have your health information. And so
right,
we're talking about like bad guys in the government, but like, do you want your company to know your health information? It's none of their business.
yeah, it's all tied
Like,
together. Yeah, true.
tie it all, because in essential, these government agencies have all your data, right? We'll say that pretty much, right? They know your health because of, we'll say for Japan, because Japan has public more than America.
Hmm.
But all of those things are separate.
Yeah,
And so it's a pain in the butt, but it's better that it's separate.
yeah,
And so combining that stuff together, once again, it's a hacker's dream, but also it's a company's dream to be able to police you better, being like, oh, I noticed you took the day off but didn't go to the doctor. Or, oh, I noticed that you have this disease now. So we've decided we're not going to like keep you on or we're not going to hire you. Or, hey, we know the age of your kids and we've decided that like you're going to be tied to your family over the job. So we're not going to hire you. Like, there's
yeah.
so many implications of this that literally, I know I feel like I have my conspiracy hat on. It's kind of what they're looking at, and we've seen examples of them doing this.
I mean, in to put it into less theoretical terms, like someone in the states, if you sign up for like life insurance, like there are life insurance workers on record. I mean, well, at least their testament that once you sign up for life insurance, they basically kind of know like what month you're gonna die. Like they already have it all planned out because they're obviously authorizing a ton of money at the moment of your death. So they would be a kind of crappy company if they didn't have that information. They didn't have like a really, really, really good guess of like the exact month and year you're gonna die. And in order to do that, they know like what medications you're on. They know what type of job you have. They know how many kids you have, and in that case, you are just providing all this information. I'm sure they ask for it, like your health stats, do you smoke, all this basic stuff. But they have so many data points in their system that they could just use, prediction models to get to be, and from what I've heard, they're fairly accurate
They're
to
fairly accurate because they collect so much big data.
exactly. And so like but at the very least with life insurance, you've kind of made that contract with them because it's a lot of money, hopefully, that you'll get upon death, that your family will get upon death. You ain't getting nothing. But the now you're giving that amount of leeway to who knows what. Like anyone like that if like that group who discovered it wasn't a backdoor but just like an open server on the Discord age verification third party, if they just had not said anything, then how many kids' information would they have had access to over like a span of a few months? Because for a lot of big companies, if it ain't broke, you don't fix it unless you have some kind of tech bro who wants to make a name for himself or whatever. But this is a third party, so no one in Discord is gonna be like, "Hey, so are your servers secure?" Like, no, it's like they're supposed to be secure from the get go. so they're not gonna like hammer them on. And then I don't know what kind of company that persona company is, but if they're just satisfied at their with their current product, then that would have been just a backdoor that just stays open for years and years and years, and it would have just been gathering people's profile stuff, and they weren't deleting it. That was kind of the whole point. They weren't deleting it. So yeah, it's some
One
kind of
thing to
chilling
note
effect.
every time some company says that when they collect your data, they delete it, they don't delete it.
Why would they? I think most of the time they just anonymize it. But for them, anonymize it means they strip it, they separate it from your user ID. But if that data is like a picture of you, then how anonymous is it at this point? Like you're up in there.
I would say that actually I learned something pretty interesting. So I think anonymizing it is just the BS term for like we've tied it to a number, but that number is still you.
Oh,
Because
so I see.
because I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were essentially this lady was essentially talking about how she went to the doctor, and her doctor basically like did all the stuff supposed to do, and then later after going to this doctor a couple of times started getting invitations to studies. And the reason that she was getting these invitations is the hospital basically put her in an anonymized kind of data collection, but they could trace it back to her, these studies, and so they were approaching her. And I'm like, nope, that's scary.
What nation was this person from?
Oh, this is in America.
Let me see. Yeah. So I mean, even I would say about 10 years ago, there was one big data company that claimed to have 242, something like that. 242 data points on every single person. Like, imagine if like you go on your date and someone's like, "Hey, can you tell me 242 things about you?" Like, even then you kind of like by around 100 you probably start struggling. You'd be like, I don't know, like my hair is black, my mom's middle name is, like eventually you start have to reach. You start reaching. So like even back then, like they had that much amount of data. And again, I'm sure there's someone out there going like, if you have nothing to hide, that's such a okay. Before I even I'm not even gonna say, I'm not gonna name call the argument. I'm gonna say that it's not a good argument because it's not about you. It's about setting the precedent for accessing the data of a normal person. Most people, they don't do anything with their lives of significance as far as influencing society, but there are those who do and will, and powers that be, it's in their best interest to monitor them. So for example, if someone, this happened I think 2 weeks ago, a scientist and her government handler who was in the military just both disappeared, and the scientist was working on alternative energies. Okay, like
I'm going to jump in here because I used to feel like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like, you're not important enough for the government to like research you. But here's the thing, the data points are valuable, regardless of if you have no effect on, like, let's say you're just average Joe and you don't do anything. Okay, well, let's talk about 23andMe collecting your DNA and then selling it, and then they solve a cold case of someone in your family,
right.
done without your permission. Or they use this information to test drugs. Like, these are things that you don't consent to, which is more important than I think saying like, oh, I'm not important, or oh, if you don't do anything bad, like nothing bad will happen. And it's like, no, these are things that shouldn't happen. The government shouldn't, a private company shouldn't take your DNA and then do whatever they want with it.
Yeah, and in
Like,
Japan, they'll just drop this in. In Japan, there's a lot of point program. They get them hooked with point programs, like it's Pokemon, like catching Pokemon, like building up stats, like it's an RPG, like and then they end up being like, we'll give you half a penny for every like let's say $1 you spend. Like, bro, I will pay you $10 a month for you to not collect my data. What are we talking about? Like, just leave me alone, because exactly like you just said, like you're just contributing to to an overarching system that they're obviously not only making a profit off of, they could start manipulating society as a whole, or their customers as a whole.
I'm going to say this is a joke, but it's very true. We're back to the toilets monitoring your stool.
Right.
Telling people about your diseases before you get a chance to know. Like, I just don't. Privacy should be a human right.
Yeah, of course. You can't, yeah. And it really ties to one philosophy. Like even the brain will wipe certain memories, or at least um, the brain allows itself to forget and move on. If in a world where all your stuff is being recorded, all your mistakes in your entire life are just there and available to be tapped into by you or by anyone who might want to make a target of you. This is not like this is not even like natural in biology. Like you should be allowed to make mistakes and then acknowledge them as a mistake and then move on with your life, I would say. I know that sounds like something like a criminal would say, but no, it's like if you talk like literally go ask your grandpa
let's pull
or
it out of
grandma.
criminality.
Yeah.
Let's pull it out of criminality. The mayor of New York, his
Mom
wife.
Mamdani's.
Yeah, Mamdani's wife.
Uh-huh.
Apparently when she was a teenager, said the N-word and some other derogatory things, as you do. And I would say that, like, it's dumb teenage stuff. You're not making a big deal out of this for dumb teenage stuff. I think is really ridiculous when this person is like 30 years old.
Yeah.
Because if the consequence happens then, because someone might bring up the Parkland kid who said the N-word and then lost his admission to Harvard, that's fine. You said it at 16, and at 16, 17, someone was like, we don't like that. But when you're coming 10 years later, that's just wild. And things should be allowed to, not all things, of course, but like there are things that should be allowed to be forgotten. And there are things that should be allowed to be like, I was a kid.
Yeah, there's a concept
or
of
I didn't know better.
Yeah, there's this concept of statute of limitations for a reason. Like we sometimes think older people didn't know what the fuck they were doing, but they've a lot of people, before social media, there was like nothing else to do but to kind of get into what you got into. And I'm sure people have come to certain conclusions. Not all of them. I'm not going to say they're all like wise and all knowing, but yeah, something like statute of limitations, something of like, not holding someone accountable for something they did when their brain was like still mush is probably something reasonable. Like a reasonable expectation, but
not just a reasonable expectation, but like if you've seen that they have, and this is one of those things that I think gets lost in the internet, that they did this when their brain was not fully formed. I'm gonna put it that way, and then they grew up, and they know that thing is bad.
Yeah.
What's the point?
Yeah, I don't know. It's that concept of like, it's like you want to be on the right side of history or something like that. But the thing is, like, this is not a thing. Like, we don't even know, like, what does that mean? Because we don't even know where this goes. You know what I mean? Like, if the U.S. becomes, loses its power to some extent, becomes, people arguing that this is already happening, has happened, blah, blah. But whoever the next world superpower is, they're going to be the quote-unquote winners, and guess what? They're going to be able to write the U.S.'s history however they see fit. That's just what it is. And all of a sudden, oh, we're on the right side of history. Well, depends on who is the current, where they're at. So, like, it's kind of it's instead of that, there should be, like, a kind of almost minimalist approach of, like, focusing on certain values that are going to ring as universal. And obviously, that's a very impossible thing. But by the way, because it's impossible, because it's the difficulty level on that is so high, that's why you should be cautious about where you draw your lines or whatever. So something like, this, was it Mom Donnie's wife said hateful things when she was younger. In what world could this ever be a good thing? Probably can never be a good thing, but you know what could be a bad thing? Bullying someone younger. Like, imagine in the future where it's like, hey, remember how we used to just bully people in for their words when they were teenagers, when now our current science shows how freaking stupid we are when we're teenagers again? Like, something as simple as that. It's like, it's just it's weird how there's like this idea of like moral relativism, especially on the left, but it's like at the same time it's blended in with like no, this is right and this is wrong, which is what they'll often criticize the right about being. Like, you guys are too black and white, blah blah. It's like,
but there's
whatever.
no allowance for growth on the left.
Yeah. So it's like, where are we? At the end of the day, like, my main concern, because I am a humble person who knows my limitations, just the basics, bro. Privacy. How is privacy not a basic right? And yeah, like stuff happens in the shadows, like bad stuff. But guess what? That's why there's laws to address that stuff. Like the moment something happens, and by the way, laws can be written and rewritten. So it's like, let's see, like
Well,
if you
here's the
create.
thing.
Hmm.
You don't want to be the thought police. People have weird thoughts, people have intrusive thoughts.
Yeah.
They have thoughts of things they're never going to act on,
Yeah.
and you shouldn't be punished for that. And that is one of the things about privacy, is also public ostracization of things that people have decided are weird but are harming no one. Because we've been talking about harmful things, but this will also affect non-harmful things of just like, oh, I feel that's weird, so you should be pushed out of society.
Yeah, it's kind of like in my mind, like how people on the right, they would want in the U.S. they would want to give like the Trump's administration more power to deal with illegal immigration, and they're like, yeah, bro, send out the National Guard, send out the army, send out James Bond, send out the ninjas, send out everybody to deal with them. It's like, okay, if you give literally any administration that amount of power, when the pendulum swings the other way, guess who still has that power? Like, remember that whole concept? Like, the US is all about swinging left and right and left and right. So if every administration is like, well, we need this or that, we need this amount of taxes to do that, we need this right to do that, well, we're able to not declare war but participate in special military operations without Congress's approval, and we are justified. If every administration is justified, if every administration has their own special circumstances, those special circumstances just become the right of the next administration, the people you don't like, whoever that may be. So again, there should be everyone's got to take a chill pill, I would say, with all this stuff. And yeah,
At least that too.
the thought police, stuff. Yeah, it's just better to not. Why are people so eager to give rights to people who don't know you? You know, it's like you trust them. Like if, for example, it's like, oh yeah, I don't mind paying taxes if my taxes go to help the poor. Okay, where are they going right now? Let's check. Let's take a look. See. Let's see where your taxes are going. Let's see how they're being used. It's like in California, we like since the 1970s, Japan offered their bullet train maglev technology. They're like, hey, do you guys want this tech? You guys can have like a bullet train connecting LA to San Francisco and then connected to Las Vegas and Nevada or something. And every few years, like the bill would come for voting in California, and every single Californian you ask, they'd be like, dude, hell yeah. Are you kidding me? I would love to be able to take a bullet train from San Francisco to Los Angeles. Okay, well, that was like 50 years ago. It's like 50 years of just getting like psyched. Like they set it up, like they pass it, and then of course they stuff it with other stuff, and then they just happen to never get to the bullet train part. So it's like, are you good? These are the people you trust with your money? 50 years, like half a century of not doing what they said they were gonna do, but doing plenty of other stuff that they want to do. Like
Talking about money and politics is a whole other podcast.
Yeah, and the whole other podcast I was gonna go on about was I don't even know the name of the game, but like one of the Resident Evils, I guess like they rewrote a lot of the lines because they were like too sexist or whatever. And the main character, because they remade it, and the main guy Leon, he was said some kind of sexist lines like women, like that kind of stuff. Like even for back then, I would say it's like, I don't know, I don't think they were that bad, but that's someone who grew up on like 90s sitcoms that were way more sexist than anything produced in the 2000s and after. But it'd be like, yeah, he'd be like women, and they just replaced it with like, I don't know, something like that didn't focus on the women aspect of it. But then at the same time, the dude, Leon, the character, apparently like they hired a bunch of women to like design him to make him like really sexually appealing, all the way down to like the veins in his neck. So in other words, you're now like fully objectifying this character whose lines had to be changed because he was kind of being sexist towards women in an earlier iteration. Like, what are we doing? And by the way, I'm okay with all of it. But imagine if they were doing like because by the way, the reason is because no one's getting hurt in my mind, right? Maybe they're setting a bad precedent for society, blah blah. It's like, well, then don't support that media. But this is like, isn't this just some thought police stuff too? It's like you're just like thought policing Because maybe there are people who just be like women, and maybe there are people who'd be like, dude, I really like Leon because his neck veins are just like really sexy or whatever. If we live in a society where it's like, well, we can't bring any of that up because we're suddenly in our own homes while we play this game, we have to pretend we're in good company, and the good company is called my phone that's listening to me. It's just like, bro, okay.
That's another thing that's interesting, and we might have to talk about it on a different show of just like when you make art, you probably like there has to be conflict
Mm.
in like the story.
Mm.
And so like, yeah, Leon said sexist things, but that was part of his character.
Mm.
Did he have to be a perfect guy the whole time?
Interesting, right?
But that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, it is. It is. It reminds me of like the neighborhood. Like we don't really participate in our neighborhood a lot of the time. Some people have to, so they will. But the way like suburbia is set up, like once upon a time, you could just like you could hear your neighbors arguing. You would know who was poor, who was rich, and you would know your own station, quote unquote, where you were at. The nice things about your family and the nice things about another neighbor's family. You'd be like, damn, I wish I could eat like they are, or I wish my dad this or my mom that. I wish I had these shoes, or hey, I am able to go on vacation, but my neighbor always never seems to go on vacation. Like, and when you grow up as a kid and this is your community, it's like it creates like almost like a measuring stick of, you know, you're growing up in an imperfect world, and there's a lot of stuff going on, and there are imperfect things in your life, and there are imperfect things in the life of the people around you. Pretty sure that guy over there beats his wife. Pretty sure that lady over there is an alcoholic. But like in this world, it's like everyone's like so utopian ideal that they're like, Leon can't even stereotype women. And now that we're in the big 2026 or 2025 or whatever, whenever this game was designed, how dare he say women? But also, women have been objectified for years, and thus it is now time to objectify this character with his biceps and neck veins or whatever. Like it just seems so arbitrary to me. It seems so formulaic and back and forth. Like just let like if as long as no one's getting hurt, that's really like my way of thinking. But you know, there it is debatable because people will say, well, this is hurting society as a whole, blah blah. But at the same time, like who is making who the arbiter of all this? And yeah, that's actually the theme of this, which is like, okay, now you know my age, now you know who I am, now you know all my information, now you know like all my health history, my company knows it, the government knows it, anything I participate or sign up in knows it, the intelligence agencies know it. Now they are all the arbiters of what's good, what's bad, and do we trust all of them? Do we trust all their
Nope.
judgment?
Not at all.
Yeah, that's, you know, I'm sure I'm wrong about this or that, but hey, that's kind of the point. They're probably wrong about this or that. So why do they have this much access? All right. Well, I'm glad you had stuff to say about that because I wasn't sure.
No,
But yeah.
I'm very like dialed into that kind of stuff because of it affects fandom spaces, honestly.
Yeah, it affects creative output, which is kind of like, I don't know how a lot of people feel about it. Maybe some people live for sports, so maybe this is just a bias you and I have. But that's kind of it's kind of important, you know, like creativity and art. I say with my AI generated VTuber profile or VTuber avatar, creativity and art is like kind of key to enjoying life. And aren't we here to enjoy life? Like, what are we doing? But okay. Well, thank you guys for listening. And we'll see you next week. Thank you very much.
See you
Bye,
next
everybody.
week.